Bucksport, Maine. A mill town on the Penobscot River. Quiet, familiar. The kind of place where people wave at each other in the grocery store, and where tragedy is supposed to be rare. But between 2013 and 2017, 4 people died or disappeared under circumstances that still don't make sense. 4 people, all connected to one man. David Appleby, Colin Airy, Robin Davis, Kirk Davis. 4 lives, 4 cases. One name that keeps resurfacing. Before we begin, a note. Every detail in this episode comes from public records, family statements, and reporting available to the public. No one has been charged in these deaths. All individuals are presumed innocent unless proven otherwise. But the families of the victims believe something went terribly wrong in Bucksport, and that the truth has been ignored for far too long. December 10th, 2013. 39-year-old David Appleby is found dead in her home. A mother of 4, a beloved ed tech at the local school, a woman with no history of depression, no history of self-harm, and no history of sleepwalking. Yet 6 days before her death, she suffers a mysterious head injury. Her husband, David Appleby, tells police she hit her head while sleepwalking, something she had never done before. On the morning of her death, David reports finding her hanging. He tells police he cut her down before EMTs arrived. Despite the head injury, despite the lack of history, despite the inconsistencies, Christie's death is ruled a suicide. Her case is closed. Shortly after, David collects a life insurance payout, one he does not share with Christie's children. This is the first tragedy, but it won't be the last. Three years later, Christie's oldest son, 22-year-old Colin Airy, is living with his stepfather, David Appleby. Colin is an ed tech, just like his mother. He's close to his siblings. He has no plans to leave town. On January 25th, 2017, Colin disappears. David tells police he dropped Colin off in Brewer, or maybe Bangor, depending on which version he tells. He says Colin was starting a job at Sears, but Sears confirms he never applied. A private investigator finds no evidence Colin ever left Bucksport. And then there are Colin's final messages, the last digital trace he leaves behind. In them, he tells a friend he's angry at David for forging a doctor's signature on fake vaccination records. He says he's uncomfortable, suspicious. And his final message is chilling. He might be a pedo. After that, Colin is never seen again. No body, no confirmed sightings, no investigation that leads anywhere. Just a young man who vanished, and a stepfather whose story keeps changing. June 11th, 2017. A car fire is reported in Orrington, Maine. Inside the vehicle, firefighters find the body of 38-year-old Robin Davis, a mother, a well-known customer service worker, and David Appleby's fiancée. News reports describe her body as burned beyond recognition. But the fire isn't the most disturbing part. Robin's autopsy reveals further details. Blunt force trauma to her head, a broken hyoid bone, something seen in nearly half of manual strangulation cases. No soot in her lungs, meaning she was dead before the fire started. Her seatbelt wasn't fastened. Her doors weren't locked. The car was in park. Nothing would have prevented her from escaping. The cause of the fire was undetermined. The cause of death, undetermined. But the evidence suggests Robin didn't die in that fire. She was placed there. And once again, the man closest to her was David Appleby. Six months later, tragedy strikes again. December 4th, 2017. 64-year-old Kirk Davis, Robin's father, is found dead at the bottom of his basement stairs. Kirk is grieving the loss of his daughter. His drinking has increased. His blood alcohol content is 0.176 when he dies. The death is ruled accidental. No investigation was opened. But there are details that don't sit right with the family. A witness places David Appleby at Kirk's home that morning. And shortly after Kirk's death, David is arrested. Not for violence, but for forgery. He forged Kirk's signature on a $2,500 check. A check written to himself. Based on the timing of the transactions, it's presumed David was in the home around the time Kirk fell, but he never reported finding him. Kirk's body is discovered hours later by his girlfriend. Another death. Another financial motive. Another connection to the same man. Let's step back. 4 tragedies in 4 years. 4 people connected to David Appleby. A wife, a stepson, a fiancé, a future father-in-law. 4 cases with contradictory statements, forensic red flags, financial gain, changing stories, and no charges. The families call them the Bucksport Four. They've created websites, hired private investigators, and begged for renewed investigations. Their voices have reached journalists, podcasters, and true crime communities across the country. But still, no answers. As of today, Christie's death remains ruled a suicide. Colin remains missing. Robin's death remains unexplained. Kirk's death remains accidental. Unfortunately, the families they left behind may never get the justice they deserve. David Appleby passed away in January of 2026 from lung cancer, likely taking with him any hope of closure. In Bucksport, the seasons have changed. The river keeps moving, and life has gone on. But for 4 families, nothing has moved at all. Their grief sits where the answer should be. If you know something, anything, bring it forward. Not for the headlines, not for the town, for the families who have carried this loss alone for far too long.